Welcome to No Broken Legs podcast. I am your host, Evan Belfiore. Joining me as always, he is the warrior of the wasteland, the thunder from down under, the Ayatollah of rock and rolla, Jimmy Champ. Jimmy, welcome.
Welcome, Ev, man. I'm feeling funky like a monkey tonight, if you will, brother. Hey, man, I'm
Yeah.
just hoping to have a good bounce back week this week, man. Struggled last week, so hopefully this week's a little better for me.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about last week. It wasn't a good one. We do have one game that was in the books on Thursday night. Green Bay cruised to a pretty easy win over San Francisco. The season from hell for San Francisco kind of continues there, Jimmy.
Yeah, I actually, we don't normally pick the Thursday game just because of when we do our two pods. I definitely would have taken the 49ers to cover. The last line I saw was at like 7.5, and I would have probably taken the 49ers. I thought the Packers looked like they were on the ropes a little bit, and they had a lot of COVID cases. I thought the 49ers would be able to keep it close, and Devontae Adams and Aaron Rodgers just seem to be about unstoppable if Aaron Jones is on the field with them.
Yeah, I think that game pretty much just boils down to those were the three best players on the field, probably.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, the Packers there, they stay a game ahead of Chicago in the NFC North, but they are one behind the NFC leading Seattle Seahawks, who are traveling to Buffalo this week, Jimmy. This is a big game. This is a big boy game for Buffalo. Are they going to be able to rise to the challenge here? They're getting 3 points.
Yeah, there are a lot of big boy games this week. We both feel like Buffalo is a very, very good football team. They're not in the class with Seattle. I'm taking Seattle straight up and with the points. I don't think Buffalo can stay within 3 points of Seattle. I see Seattle pulling away a little bit at the end. Josh Allen's struggling a little bit right now, and Seattle's defense played a little bit better last week. I just don't think Buffalo has the dogs to stay in this race.
Yeah, I agree. I'm taking Seattle. I like it as a lock. Buffalo has shown glimpses. I don't know how they come off that. Excuse me. I don't know how they bounce back after you beat New England. That's a big game for them. Can they get up to finish off the job this week? I just think Seattle's in a different league than Buffalo in terms of how good they are.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, even with the loss, Buffalo would move to 6-3 and still be in great control of their division.
Absolutely. Another one of our big boy matchups of the week. Baltimore is traveling to Indianapolis. Both teams sitting at 5-2. Both teams have struggled. Both teams have looked really good. It's a 1-point game. What do you make of this, Jimmy?
All right. So this one is weird. This one is just weird to me. Man, I don't know. This is just a game that I'm just not sure about still. Like, I've been looking at it for a day, and I'm really just not sure. The Steelers probably have the bye sewn up in the AFC, but both of these teams are battling for that second or third seed. And it's a really intriguing game because the Ravens are great at running the ball. That's what the Colts do well on defense. But the Ravens pressure the quarterback, and we know when Phillip Rivers is under pressure, he just makes costly mistakes. I'm going to take the Ravens. I don't feel great about it. I've been kind of beating the drum on Lamar's regression since before the season started, and it looks like I may be pretty right on that. But I think he'll be able to do enough to get a close win here.
I agree. I actually think it's going to be a lock.
Wow, I like it.
Taking Baltimore with a lock. I just don't trust Phillip Rivers in any way. I know Indy got their guys back on defense, and that really helped shore things up on that side of the football. But I don't think it's going to work for him this week. I think Baltimore is. I know they have their ups and downs, but now that they're 5-2, I mentioned earlier, one of our earlier podcasts, that it almost looked like Baltimore was trying to throw to sort of develop Lamar as the season goes.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to do any of that today. I think you get the full spectrum of what their offense can do and what they're used to doing.
Yep.
All right, well, you mentioned the race for the top spot here in the AFC. They're chasing Pittsburgh, and the other team they're chasing is Kansas City. They're hosting Carolina. The Panthers are getting back Christian McCaffrey. They're also going to get 10 points. What do you like here, Jimmy?
Okay, been a big supporter of this Panthers team. I've liked what I saw. They were in bad weather last week, so I think that made a little bit of a difference. Teddy Bridgewater didn't look great last week. He's been throwing some interceptions. I think Carolina is a good football team. I don't think they're 10 points close to the Chiefs. So I'm taking this as a lock for the Chiefs. I think they win this game by 2 touchdowns. I do like the Panthers, but the Chiefs are just on all cylinders right now. Like last week should have been the Lev Bell revenge game against the Jets, and Andy Reid said, "No, Patrick Mahomes is going to throw for 500 yards because I want to." Like I just think I still think they're the best team in the NFL,
Agreed.
and I want to take the Panthers here because they're a good football team and they're getting 10 points, but I just don't think they can keep it to that close.
Yeah, this is actually my third lock in a row. I saw these 3 games in a row and went, yep, I like all 3 of them. I'm going to be putting Kansas City in a lot of money line teasers. There's no way they lose this game. This just looks like they roll over a Carolina team that, like you said, is good. They're growing, but this is I feel like this is what our good friend Brandon Fenty would call a big brother game.
Yep.
Next up, we have an AFC South battle for the cellar, Jimmy. It is the Houston Texans. They are taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Texans are giving 6.5. This is another game I'll probably put in a lot of money line teases because Jacksonville's not very good. Is this just a Deshaun Watson's the best player game?
Yeah, this is a lock for me. I'm taking the Texans at -6.5. These are 2 bad football teams, but they're bad for different reasons. They got to their records in very different ways. The Jags are starting a 6th-round pick at quarterback. I don't think the Jags can exploit the few things the Texans are bad at. So even with the Texans have 3 starting linebackers out due to COVID. I still don't think it's enough. I think they might score some points. If Luton can move the ball at all, Jacksonville could probably still score some points. But I think Deshaun gets it done. And I think, this was against Jacksonville the last time was the big Brandon Cooks blow-up game. I see a lot of that happening again. I think the Texans roll easy here.
Yeah, I guess we should pour a little out for the Gardner Minshew era. Any comments beyond that wonderful Fu Manchu he had there for a few weeks?
I don't understand why people were so gaga over him.
I think it was the Baker had that great first year and everybody was still riding high before the wheels fell off with Freddie. And then they both had the same mustache and they both kind of look alike and that whole
Maybe
thing.
it was a little bit of that everyman syndrome. I don't know. We watched every play of that game they had against Houston and London, and he did not look like he deserved to be on an NFL football field as the starting quarterback. He just didn't. He's mobile, so that gave him a little bit of fantasy football value, but you can't lead your team and expect to win games with Gardner Minshew. You just can't.
Totally agreed. Moving on, we have the Atlanta Falcons are hosting the Denver Broncos. Atlanta giving 4 points here. And I guess the question I have, Jimmy, is how big of a lead will the Falcons blow in this game?
You got to expect it to be at least 2 scores. You got to expect it. I think the Falcons will win this game, but I don't think you can expect the Falcons to beat anybody by more than a field goal. So I'm taking the Broncos as a lock. If you're going to give me 4 points against Atlanta, I'm going to take it. I'm also going to take the Broncos money line because why not? If Atlanta blows it, they might blow it all the way, and the money line's at +160 on the Broncos. So I really like that action there. Calvin Ridley's looking to be out, so Julio should be a beast, but Todd Gurley is just looking worse and worse as the season goes on. Drew Lock looked great in the 4th quarter of that game last week. He looked really bad for the other 3 quarters. Not sure who's going to show up, but if you have woes in your offense, playing Atlanta can fix them. So I do think Atlanta will find a way to win this game. It might be a Young Hoku 65-yard field goal at the end, but I'll take the Broncos with 4 points.
Playing well against the Los Angeles Chargers in the 4th quarter does not impress me, Jimmy.
At all?
Not at all. What team blows more leads than the Atlanta Falcons?
The Chargers.
Thank you. I'm taking Atlanta because I just don't think Denver's good. I don't like this pick. I don't like this game. I'd just like to move on.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
This is another game I don't really like, Jimmy. Two confounding teams, the fucking Bears and the fucking Titans. Explain to me how this is a 6.5 point spread.
I don't understand. You still have it as Titans minus 6.5, right?
Yes. That was
Okay.
this afternoon when I grabbed
Okay.
everything. Which
So
we should
first
mention
off-
everything's from bettingpros.com. So about
first
3
off,
hours ago in the afternoon.
I don't want to watch a snap of this ugly football game.
Cheers.
I don't want to watch any of this. I think the Bears will be able to slow down the two things the Titans do well on offense, and I don't think the Titans' defense is good enough to do anything with the mistakes Foles and Trubisky will make. So I think the Bears are going to win outright. Somehow, some way, they're going to be 6-3, and the Titans are going to keep sliding the wrong way. I'm taking the Bears money line right now. It's at plus 225, so that's super juicy to me. We've neither one of us were really sure what we thought about the Titans. I feel like the last couple of weeks, teams have really given a game plan of how you just sell out to stop the run and hope your corners cover AJ Brown and Corey Davis. And if you do that, you can beat the Titans because if you get them out of play action max protection, Ryan Tannehill is not the super efficient quarterback that people want to try to tell me he is. So I'm taking the Bears straight up. I think they'll win it outright. So I'll definitely take 6.5 with it.
I'm taking the Bears. I have no idea what to do with this game. The Titans look so bad, but then you see the Bears and their offense is just abysmal. So I just don't know. I'm taking the Bears. When in doubt, take the points.
Yeah. Yep. That is sound advice to keep the legs safe.
Yeah, absolutely. The Minnesota Vikings got Delvin Cook back, and they looked like the team I expected them to be when I picked them to win the NFC North. They will be welcoming the Detroit Lions. The Lions are getting 3.5 here, Jimmy, in this NFC North battle.
Yeah, so after beating the Packers soundly, the Vikings should destroy the Lions, which is exactly why I'm taking the Lions.
I made the exact same decision.
Like, both of these teams, super weird things are going to happen in this football game. The Lions will keep it to a field goal. I might throw a little bit on the money line at plus 180 because if the Lions won outright, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, the Vikings have been such a frustrating team all year. After that performance against the Packers, they should probably be thinking about climbing back into the playoff race. And Matt Stafford's going to hang like 450 and 4 touchdowns on them without Kenny Galladay. I just know it.
For the same reasons. I was like, oh yeah, they got Delvin Cook back. They're probably going to start rolling again. Like, no, they're probably still bad, and it was an aberration.
Yeah.
I had the exact same thought on that. That's hilarious. So, oh my God, we're obliged to talk about the Giants traveling to Washington. Washington giving 2.5 on this on a scale of 1 to dogs with bees shooting out of their mouths. How big of a stay away is this?
This is as much of a stay away as humanly possible. I like how with the Bears Titans on tap, the NFL found a way to make a more boring football game. Like, I appreciate that. I'm taking Washington. I think the Washington football team, their defense is the best unit in the game. An agonizing defeat for the Giants last week. They won't bounce back. I think McLaurin and Gibson are the two most skilled offensive players in the game. They'll score enough. This could be like a 10-3 game, but I think Washington gets it done.
Ooh, I'm excited in anticipation already. God, this game is just... There's some good matchups this week, and there are some garbage matchups this week. This is one of the garbage matchups, so we are going to move on to another stay away from me for this week, which is the LA Chargers giving the Vegas Raiders a point.
Yeah.
Just what the hell do we do with this game?
I think you just take the Raiders. I think the Raiders are just better than the Chargers. I think there was a lot of fluke in last week's performance, but they looked okay. I don't know how a young rookie quarterback quite bounces back from what happened to the Chargers last week in the fourth quarter. So I think the Raiders will win outright. So I'll certainly take them getting 1 point. I don't really think there's anything else to be said about that one.
Yeah, I'm taking Vegas, and I'm taking Washington in the previous game. I'm not sure I made that clear. But for basically all the reasons you say, I don't trust the Chargers to beat anybody, and
Right.
somehow they're getting a point. So I
Yeah.
will I will
Yeah.
just take whoever they're playing, and I will take that point.
Yep.
Uh, we get a good game though. Our next game here is a good one. We're going to get our first. Well, we hope it's a good one. We're going to get our first Tua versus Kyler Murray battle. Miami's traveling to the desert to take on the Cardinals. They're getting 4.5. I like the Cardinals here. I still don't know what to make of the Dolphins with Tua.
No, I think it's probably recency bias, but I'm actually going to take the Dolphins. This is a sneaky huge game for both teams for a ton
Yeah.
of reasons. But the Dolphins defense is on a roll. The Cardinals don't have a defense, I don't think, to really make things rough for Tua like the Rams did last week. Because let's be clear, I mean, Tua looked horrible against the Rams defense, but the Cardinals aren't the Rams defense. I
Yeah.
think the Cardinals probably win this game by a field goal, but I'm going to take the 4.5. I think it'll be close the whole way. This could be a big blow up spot for Tua as well. This could be a huge game for him. The only thing, the Dolphins' backfield is a mess. Could be a Jordan Howard game for the Dolphins. So I don't want to make of that what you will. But it's probably just recency bias because I think the Rams are at least as good as the Cardinals. Well, I actually think the Rams are better than the Cardinals, but most people aren't on that page with me. But I think the Rams offense is close to the Cardinals offense, and the Dolphins had the right game plan there. I think they'll have the right game plan again. Kyler is still not throwing the ball great. He's running the ball well, but he's not throwing the ball great. I do love that Chase Edmonds is going to get his chance now with Kenyon Drake out, but I'm taking the Dolphins at 4.5.
I'm taking the Cardinals. You have convinced me on Chase Edmonds. Well, not just you. Having Drake on my fantasy team has convinced me. I like the Cardinals here. I just want to see if they can keep moving, but it's really, man, Miami had to get a lot of stuff go their way last week.
I agree. I agree. Yeah.
That scares me away from them now going on the road. This is, like you said, this is not one of the marquee matchups, but this is definitely one of those second tier big boy games.
Yep.
And I think they pull it off at home.
Yeah, we've talked about how the Cardinals are trying to change their culture and they want to be a big boy team in the NFC. These are the games you have to win, and I just don't quite know if they're there yet.
Yeah, they had one of these a few weeks ago, didn't they?
Yeah.
They won that game, didn't they?
They did. They did.
Okay, so I feel better about my pick now thinking about that. But this next game is a lock.
No.
It's Pittsburgh's a lock. They're giving the carcass of the Dallas Cowboys 14.5 points. I could make fun of the Cowboys all day, but I think that's sort of beating a dead horse at this point, and I don't want to say anything nice about the Steelers. So, Jimmy, I cede the floor to you.
Yeah, no. This is a pass, hard pass. This is also a lock for me. The Steelers dominate. Their offense will finally look good. People will start telling me they're better than the Chiefs, and those people will be wrong. But yeah, the Steelers. Yeah, this is a lock. I don't know what they could have made this line to make me take Dallas, but what it is now, it's a lock for the Steelers.
Yeah, I really like Kansas City, Pittsburgh, just the two of them, and any money line teases you can make. Go wild. Because that's I didn't have a good week last week, but I almost broke even because of a couple of teases. So those things can definitely help us out. Sunday night, Jimmy. This is the real marquee matchup of the week. Tampa Bay and Tom Brady, New Orleans and Drew Brees. Bucks are favored by 4.5, but New Orleans won the first meeting. Does Tampa get even?
Man, I don't know. This one, I didn't really care. I did not really care for picking this game. This game has huge playoff implications. The Seahawks still have some tough games left in their division, so that one seed is really still open in the West. Both of these teams will desperately need that rest. I'm taking the Saints because I think it's a field goal game. So I'm going to take the points, but I don't like it. But I don't like it less than I thought about taking the Bucks giving 4 to the Saints, if that makes sense. Like, I don't like this game. Somebody's going to look great at the end of this one. I think the Buccaneers probably win, but I think the Saints keep it to a field goal.
I like the Buccaneers. I'm making it a lock.
Wow.
I think that team is rounding into its best version of itself.
Yeah.
That this is happening in week 9 is probably not ideal for their season long aspirations, but I've been, all year I liked their over. I like them to win the division. If they're going to win the division, they need to win this game. But I still think that long term they're not going to get where they want to go. But I think they win this game.
Okay.
New England and the New York Jets, because we cannot have enough primetime Jets. And I got to be honest, New England's giving 9.5 points, and even with that big spread, I'm going to say this, Jimmy, because it brings me a lot of joy. This is a game between two bad teams.
Yeah. Yeah. This line keeps moving. It opened at 6.
I know.
It just keeps moving because why wouldn't it move? I'm taking the Patriots. This is a lock for me. This is probably what they need to cure their offensive woes. If there is anything good about the Jets, it does happen to be their run defense. So Cam is going to have to remember how to throw the football. I know they don't have a lot of weapons, but it's the freaking Jets. Like, you have to dominate this football game. If you don't want the wheels to completely fall off, if you don't want, let's say Tampa beats New Orleans, Brady throws for like 354 touchdowns, leaves a game-winning drive, and then the Patriots only beat the Jets by like 3 points the next night. Dude, Boston sports media is going to explode with "we chose the wrong guy" in the divorce. Like, the Patriots have to dominate this football game.
I'm picking the Jets.
What?
I've been concerned. Well, I wouldn't say concerned. I've been sort of cautiously optimistic that the Patriots are just going to fall apart this year. Not like completely fall apart. I mean, they're not the Jets, but this smells like a touchdown game. This smells like Adam Gase kicks a field goal late in the fourth quarter just to cover the spread to be a dick. Like one of those types of games, where they kick the inexplicable field goal when they're down 10 or they're down like 11 and he kicks a field goal and they're like, yeah, we have like 15 seconds left and we're going to kick an onside case. Like, you're not, just stop.
Yeah.
Maybe this is just me prematurely dancing on New England's grave, but they win this game. They're not losing to the Jets, but I don't think they're good enough to be favored by 9.5.
Okay.
And I really hope I'm right, because I would love. Oh my God! If the Jets win this game, the Schadenfreude is going to be amazing.
Oh man!
It's just, and everybody's going to be, everybody's going to already have that gear going with all the Trump stuff. So we could get some really good burns out of that.
Yeah, for sure.
So we have fantasy focus of the week here, Jimmy. Who do you like? What matchups are out there for our listeners?
So there's a lot of things to look at. It really seems like Calvin Ridley's going to be out. That should probably make Julio Jones the wide receiver 1 for the week, and I think it probably makes Hayden Hurst a top 5 tight end. Mm-hmm. And then on the other side of that game, if you still need quarterback help, you could probably stream Drew Lock because the Falcons' pass defense is horrible. Philip Lindsay's a great play. He's not going to get a lot of running yards, but he's their pass down running back, so that should work there. Jerry Jeudy could probably be a good streaming play if you need it. Noah Fant is a top tight end play this week as well. I'm not big on the Lions-Vikings game because I just don't know what the Vikings are going to look like outside of Dalvin Cook is really, really good. As long as Stafford plays, I believe needs to pass one more test to be sure that he's clear. But with Kenny Golladay out, Marvin Jones, he's normally on everybody's bench. You need to probably get Marvin Jones in your lineup this week. DeAndre Swift could be a good play. TJ Hawkinson, probably still out there in some leagues. He'd be a good tight end play if you've got tight end woes. Then we get to the Texans game. Start all of your Texans. Start all of them. This should be the Deshaun Watson game. He should be QB 1 to 3.
Yeah, you mentioned what he did with Cooks earlier.
Yeah, either Fuller or Cooks are going to blow up, maybe both of them, but you'd rather take a zero with one of them in your lineup than see those 40 points on your bench. So I think you got to put them both in your lineup this week. This game could get out of hand quick, so I think David Johnson is a really good play this week, especially for DFS. He's pretty cheap, and you can build a lot of good lineups with him in there as your RB1. And even as bad as they are, if you need some cheap defensive points, I'd probably go pick up the Texans defense. I mean, you're starting a 6th round quarterback who's never played with the ones before. That's probably a good spot. I love James Conner this week. That's all I'm going to say. James Conner is a great play this week. They should just run it all over Dallas. I don't think they'll try to throw it much because Roethlisberger doesn't look right still. So I think James Conner is a great play. Um, I think for fantasy purposes, the game of the week is the Seahawks Bills, and I would say start everybody.
Yeah,
Um,
that should be a high scoring affair.
yeah, Stephon Diggs should be able to eat. Josh Allen's been struggling a little bit. This should fix his woes as well because we've seen what Seattle's defense is. They did play a little better last week. And then you just hope, whether it's Metcalf or Lockett, you hope you have the right one. You know, one of them are going to blow up. And for me personally, this week, I'm really fading all of the Titans, the Bears, the Ravens, and the Colts because I don't really have a feel on how the game flow is going to go for either of those games, especially for DFS. You just can't afford Lamar Jackson with the way he's struggled right now. There's way better quarterback options this week. But even for season long, if I've got any better options, like to me, Derrick Henry is probably the only must start player for either of those 4 teams. So I'm really kind of fading both of those games.
Very fair all around. Uh, as I've said in previous podcasts, my fantasy season is over. I will be starting Derrick Henry because I don't have any other options. Everybody else is hurt. Or maybe as we get later in, we'll have to really start doing some deep dives
Yeah.
when it starts getting ready. Teams are going to have to start thinking about filling out their playoff rosters here in about 3-4 weeks. Man, just with COVID, who knows? I do want to bring up briefly here before we end up, the Cleveland Browns are on a bye this week. They're sitting at 5-3. It's a good point to just sort of take stock. Are the Browns where you were hoping they would be?
Yeah, I don't really know how you looked at that schedule to start the year. I mean, you had to pencil in the 2 losses to the Steelers and the Ravens. You just had to. And I think a lot of people had also penciled in a loss to the Colts, and they got that win there. I mean, I'm happy with where they are. I know that was a sucky game against the Raiders. I don't know if Baker Mayfield could have been any more accurate with the football, though. I mean, he hit guys right where he needed to, and they continued to drop balls for him. Personally, I do think Jarvis had that touchdown in the corner. Myself personally, call
Agreed.
it a homer call if you want. I think he had it, whatever. But I mean, they got to catch footballs. I do think Kareem Hunt is not nearly as dynamic without Nick Chubb on the field.
He doesn't look right.
He doesn't. I just don't think he's still ready for that kind of workload. Um, but he looked way more dynamic when it was a spell with him and Chubb. For whatever reason, they kind of just wanted to make Chubb the feature guy and not rotate in the other running backs. So that's fine. I don't have a problem with it. But I think Nick Chubb coming back, he's supposed to be back after the bye. That's a good sign. The offensive line needs to get healthy. But I like the way Baker's played the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, he hasn't tried
Defensively,
to force anything.
no, he really hasn't. So that's been good. I'm personally, I'm glad they didn't sell off any future assets to make a trade at the deadline because I don't think there's one piece that's going to dramatically make the team better. Guys on the defensive side of the ball just got to play a little better. Like that's just, I mean,
Just spoiler. That's not going to happen.
come on, Ev.
I mean, Sendejo is terrible.
Oh,
I don't know what happened to Taki or Mac Wilson. I don't know if it's just that they don't have any help or any direction, but the linebackers have just everybody looks lost.
yeah, I don't think Mac Wilson is fully healthy yet. But we talked about this. We talked about this before on our podcast before week 8. We talked about seeing John Gruden draw plays to attack the middle of the Browns defense. We expected it to be with passing. It wasn't. He found ways. He ran a lot of zone runs and opened up holes to where his running backs were one-on-one with Taki and Sendejo, and Josh Jacobs got whatever he wanted. Even their backup running back had like 5 yards of carry.
Yeah.
It was just the safeties didn't play well. Denzel Ward is a superstar, but that's about it. I mean, Miles. I mean, I think the game flow is probably a little different if Miles doesn't keep leaving with the injury. But Miles Garrett and Denzel Ward have to be great every week to make that defense competent, and that's a big ask for anybody. But it's what has to happen because that defense is bad. It's
Yeah,
just
they're terrible. And I agree with what you said earlier. I was going to ask you, but you mentioned it. The not trading off future assets to try to get just the quick. We tried the quick fix for 20 years.
yep,
We're seeing progress. I've been keeping track of some sort of longer term things. I mentioned the Baker has won more games than like he's tied the best record they've had except for one over the last
yeah,
11 years.
yeah,
The Browns have never in a 3-game stretch or a 3-season stretch have won more than 20 games. They would the 3 years with 2010 in the middle, or 2007 in the middle,
right.
so 6, 7, and 8. I think they won 20 games, and then the Butch Davis years they won 21 games in a 3-year stretch. They're currently sitting at 18 with 8 more games to go.
And there's a lot of winnable games.
Oh yeah, I mean they come back from the break and they get the Texans. I worry about that defense and Deshaun Watson, but the offense should be
Yep.
able to move the ball. Then they welcome Philly. That's sort of another game, a lot like Houston, where I think the Browns can win it, but I wouldn't be surprised if they lose it. And then they get Jacksonville and both New York teams. Like that should at least be 3 wins.
Yeah, the thing, and I've been like looking ahead to that Houston game. The thing that worries me is the way you beat the Texans is by throwing the football. They actually have a pretty good run defense. You beat them by throwing the football. If Baker doesn't look good in that one, the sky is going to be falling again because bad quarterbacks have played really well against Houston's defense. So Baker's going to need to be crisp. But coming out of the bye, I expect Stefanski to have a great game plan. And I just think having Nick Chubb back on the field really helps.
Yes, I agree all around.
But as we've talked, I don't understand. I mean, there's a way more Browns fans acting like this team is 3-5 than 5-3, and I don't understand it, man.
Yeah, and I think we should let's just be honest. Baker Mayfield's going to be the starting quarterback of the Browns next season. They are almost assuredly going to pick up his 5th-year option.
Yep.
Which means he's going to be the starting quarterback next season and the season after, and we should just understand that. And honestly, I'm not sure where they're going to have options that are demonstrably better.
They're not.
Well, there it is.
I mean, that's just like I hear Browns fans calling to get rid of Baker. You know what? We've gotten rid of a few decent quarterbacks over this run of horribleness for that next guy, and it hasn't worked. Baker is probably right in the middle of an NFL quarterback, but I don't see what are you going to do? You really going to hand it over to Case Keenum? No, you're not. You don't want a full Trubisky situation. You're not going to hand it over to Keenum because if Keenum plays bad, what does that do to Baker's psyche?
Yeah, we've done the back and forth thing.
Yeah.
And again, let's remember, Baker Mayfield has yet to have a coach for more than 10 months.
Yeah,
he's never started and ended an off season with the same coaching staff. Can we do that once before we throw dirt on his grave?
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Am I being unreasonable?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Can we give him a minute?
Exactly.
Especially considering, I mean, like we said, they should be over 500 or at least at 500, which would be fantastic. I think that would be the 3rd or 4th most wins they've had in a season since they came back.
Yeah, it sure would be.
That's some progress.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like they still have an inside shot to the playoffs. The defense has gotta. I mean, I understand if you don't have the players on defense, Joe Woods has got to get more creative. He's got to do a little bit more scheming. Maybe he needs to just go with more pressure.
Just an all-out blitz because they have nothing else.
Like, I mean, nothing else you're doing is working, but you don't really ever bring pressure.
Yeah, it works in Madden.
Maybe that's something they look at in the bye week. I don't know, but they got to figure out something on defense. because always expecting the offense to have these like 10-play, 10-minute drives is not fair.
No, that's not, and that's not a realistic expectation,
No.
especially with Nick Chubb out.
Nope.
All right. Well, that'll wrap up everything we have today, Jimmy. Thanks for joining us as always.
Oh man, nowhere else I'd rather be, brother.
All right, everybody else out there, stay safe. Keep those legs out of casts. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.